Hello and welcome to this live stream that we have on YouTube, which is about deepening our non-dual awareness, and we'll be looking at that in depth today, and we will go deeper into what it means to be part of how to deepen our awareness of that non-dual self. It's been a topic that I've been discussing on the podcast for a while. We've been discussing it on TikTok in my lives on there, and we've also been looking at it in terms of the in terms of just generally the content that we're putting out there. Now, getting to the non-dual self is the challenge, and that's what we will be looking at. We'll be looking at how we can ensure that we can deepen that awareness. And how do we get to that awareness? And what I have found is the Bhagavad Gita sessions, the podcast that we'll be doing with the Bhagavad Gita, has been very helpful in helping us understand what it means to be as this non-dual self. What does it mean to be in awareness? What does it mean to actually know what is real and what is unreal? So this is one way that by doing these YouTube lives, hopefully we can get a conversation in. We can get people to come and join as guests. I have put the StreamYard link. I'm going to post it again. If you would like to join the conversation, and what I'll do is I'll pin this so then it can be at the top. Okay, so that's good. So let's begin. So what does it mean to be in the non-dual awareness? What does it actually entail? First of all, it entails the knowledge to know what is real and what is unreal. We know this from the podcasts that we've been doing, the Bhagavad Gita thoughts that we've been doing. Hi, Safa. How are you? I'm doing good, thank you. And thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. So yes, how do we deepen that awareness? First is by knowing what is real. And what is real is simply that which does not change. So, what is it that does not change? Well, first of all, we have to know what does change, what is changing. And we can understand that actually what changes is this world that we live in. The people around us change. One time they're here, the next minute they may not be here. We have our body that changes, our mind changes through its thoughts, its emotions, its intentions. All this changes with time. So we know that our body and our mind cannot be real because it changes, it modifies, it goes through some sort of process. We know that also because we know that our body is born, and we know that eventually it will die, that it is inevitable that it will die. So we know this for a fact. What else changes in terms of the world that we see around? Well, we know that this world changes because we know that some animals, they also go through this process of birth and death, and they also can even be extinct. So we know that there can be that aspect in spirituality, or in the world, sorry. And then we have another aspect which is very important to know, and that is that we know that this universe changes. This universe is also subject to modification. This universe itself does go through a change. We know that at one point there will be a time when this whole universe will implode or will cease to exist. We know that that is eventually going to happen because whatever is born eventually has to die. But what is it that can remain without being born and without dying? What is it that's within us that can remain that way? And this is what the whole journey of spirituality is about. It's actually about finding out how to understand that there is something that does not change. Now, I talked about our own body, and the clearest way, the clearest example I've ever have utilized, and what I found to be effective, has been the process of knowing what is aware during every part of my life. So, for example, when you've been going through your life in terms of when you were 5 years old, 10 years old, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever, to the very last breath, there's been something that has been watching your whole body change. You've noticed that the same body that you had when you were 5 is not there anymore. It's not the same body as you have now. So we know there is a change that occurs. So this change we know is not real. It's the unreal in terms of it's subject to modification. Doesn't mean that this body is not real. You're going to go through pain and you're going to go through suffering. You're going to go through happiness and joy at the same time through this body. So this body is a good apparatus, but it is not the thing that is changeless. But there is something within it that is changeless. Now we know that thoughts appear and they disappear. Thoughts are born, thoughts die. Therefore, we know that thoughts cannot be eternal. So we know that one thing is our awareness that watches a thought, that remains, that stays there. So for a fact, we know that this is possible, that we can have that awareness where we can watch our thoughts appear and disappear. And through meditation, this is a process that can be achieved. Now, as we go back to the body, now we know that this body goes through the changes and something has been watching this. This is that awareness. Now, when we go deeper into this awareness and we get rid of everything else, everything that we see, everything that we know, all that is going to disappear. But what remains is that awareness. This is what the sages have said. This is what in the Upanishads it is said. On TikTok, we've been discussing about the Ashtavakra Gita, and in there it has said the same thing, that you are the witness of all. So it brings us to the immediacy or the immediate nature of truth. Being in the immediate nature of truth, we can know ourselves. This is when we can deepen our awareness. This is when we get to that point where we know that there is a witness within us, a watcher that does not change with the changing circumstances of the world, that does not go up, it does not go down, it does not rise, it does not fall. This awareness is still. This awareness remains. That is the eternal consciousness. That is what we may call God or God's presence. Maybe it'd be a better word of saying it or we could say it's godliness. Maybe that is a better word to use. So we know that this godliness remains. Now, what about this awareness that makes it so unique? Well, one thing is, if you think about it, does this awareness have any form? Can we put a form to this awareness? When you think about it, when I say, can you put form, that means that the form will have to be eternal. It does not change. But awareness doesn't have a form. When you think and contemplate upon awareness, you will understand that actually this formless awareness, it cannot have a form. Neither can it be made by thought nor intention. So, with meditation, when we begin meditation, we always have an intention that I want to deepen my connection with the divine, or I want to deepen my connection with myself, We go through this, right, when we meditate. Now, with that meditation, we understand that awareness cannot have a form. If it had a form, then it wouldn't be eternal. So that's the one thing that we recognize. So we know it doesn't have a form because no word can describe it. No idea can explain it. No concept can conceive it. It's beyond all those things. So we know that for a fact. And then we have then let's look at, does it have a shape? So does awareness fill a certain space, in a shape? Like if the universe has a shape, does awareness fill the universe? Well, no, because awareness cannot be contained in the universe. The universe can be contained in awareness because awareness is everlasting. Awareness is complete. And its awareness it goes beyond our understanding. So we know that for a fact. So awareness cannot have a shape, awareness cannot have a form. So the third thing to look at, does awareness have a limit? So does awareness have a limit? Now, awareness doesn't have a limit because it's always present. If it's always present, that means it's beyond time and therefore will also be beyond space, because we know that awareness is both here and we also know awareness is now. So we know that it is always around. So therefore it's limitless. Yeah. And in our scriptures, in the Vedic scriptures, what's very interesting is that they use the concept of infinite. So although we call Brahman or that non-dual self as formless, but at the same time we say it's infinite. Why do we say it's infinite? Because it has to also contain this universe. So it has an infinite amount of manifestations, not manifestations as in, if you manifest, you'll manifest a car or a house or anything like that. Not that type of manifestation. Just the fact that I believe that creation isn't created by something, it is manifested. It comes into manifestation. It doesn't need a cause behind the creation. And that's easier to deal with because once we say something has a cause, we then have to defend it with so much theory. So to avoid that the whole game of theory, we can say the universe is manifested. It appears. So this appearance is, we can say, is infinite. So we know the appearances within awareness is infinite. Yeah. So it's formless, it's shapeless, it's infinite, it's limitless. The other thing about it is that it is the seer, the watcher. Now, we know this because when we talk about being in the body, when we talk about when we're living in this transactional reality, as I call it, when we're living in this transactional reality, we know for a fact that this awareness remains. We know for a fact that this awareness, no matter what goes on in our world, we're able to be in that state of awareness. So, how do we deepen that connection? The one thing is, and the one thing that I always suggest, the one thing that I always feel is more important to understand is meditation. Now, there's many ways to meditate. As much as there's infinite manifestations, I think there's infinite ways to meditate right now. If you search up on YouTube, you will get to see the huge amount of guided meditations that are there. Many teachers have spoken about meditation. There's a particular text in Tantra which has 112 meditations. So there's a lot of meditations out there. The question is, you need to find what's right for you. What gets you closer to understanding that you are that formless, limitless, shapeless, imageless consciousness? How do you get yourself there? How do you deepen that? One approach, which is very important before we even think about meditating on Om or silence, one aspect is to meditate and inquire upon what is real. Inquire upon what remains within you. So or inquire into, who am I? Who is this I? This is the one experience that we have on a daily life where we can experience the direct nature of truth through the I. When you say, I am eating, I am sleeping, the experience is sleeping, but the I is not asleep. The I is not being eaten. The I is watching that you are eating. The I is watching that you are sleeping. The I is observing that you are listening to this YouTube live. So the I-ness is what remains. The I am. You know, Ramana Maharishi went really deep into this and really honed in on this understanding that we need to understand what the true I am is. And that I am is the witness consciousness that we constantly talk about. Like I said, in the TikTok lives, if you've been watching them before this week, we've been dwelling on and going really deep into the Ashtavakra Gita and understanding what it truly means. What does it mean to get to the witness consciousness? And it's very direct there. You are meant to be unattached and formless. Yeah. So this is another way when you know that I am unattached. That means you're not connected to anything right now. When I am cannot be connected to anything because it's complete in itself. A very beautiful word in Sanskrit is used, purnam. It's complete. It's full. I think on the podcast that is coming out tomorrow, the episode, I look into the mantra that is said in the Isha Upanishad in the very beginning, which is this is full, that is full. From fullness, if you take fullness from fullness, only fullness remains. And you can use that word you can use different words. You can use complete, you can use perfect or perfection. But when we use perfection, we tend to have a narrative that goes on with that. But when something is complete, that's the I am. That I am is always stable within you. That's your everyday experience of divinity. So thank you for joining. If you would like to join this conversation, if you would like to actually have a conversation with me and deepen your non-dual awareness, the StreamYard link here that I've got here that's on, you can click that and you can invite yourself, and you can either be on audio or video. It's really up to you, but you can have that conversation with me. You just need to click that link and it will take you to having a conversation with me. It'll invite you, and I should get a notification whenever I get a guest come in. So this is the one link that you can use. But you can also use the comments section to ask questions, or you can just drop in and say hi, like Safa did in the beginning. And just to let everyone know, I am doing good. I'm doing well. I'm pretty nervous about this at the same time. But I think it's going well. So yes. So if you want to do that, you can put a comment in and I can read, or you want a question, you can ask a question there and I can answer it. So you can choose any way to communicate. But I would say that if you want to have a chat with me, you can use the StreamYard link that you can directly join this conversation. It shouldn't be difficult to do, and there are instructions in this video description to let you know. So yes, So really, that's what I wanted to talk about when it comes to deepening our understanding, is to go through that self-inquiry first before we think about meditating, because unless we meditate, we're not going to deepen that connection. We're not going to, if we don't understand what the non-dual self is, it's going to be very hard to be meditating with the mind that thinks it's this body and it's the construct of thoughts. It's not going to be able to transcend that. So we have to go through the inquiry. And this is what I wanted to highlight in this conversation, is that if you, and the point of having this thing where you can have guests on the live stream is so that you can ask those questions to deepen the inquiry, to go through that inquiry process. But if not, I can continue on talking for a bit, and we can focus on whatever questions you will have, or we can go through some of the texts that I have looked at in the past and look at how we can deepen that awareness. There may be a point where we want to look into what Ramana Maharishi has talked about, because he was the one person that really dug deep into the non-dual awareness. So I really wanted us to understand the self, understand who am I. I really liked what I said on my last live about reading from the perspective of Krishna and Arjun. Yes, that's very important. Thank you for that. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, whenever we read something, like for example, if I end up reading something from Ramana Maharishi right now, it's very important for me to actually understand what Ramana was trying to speak about, what he was trying to talk to me about. And there's two ways of looking at this. Is one, you can read it as if Krishna was speaking, or Ashtavakra, or Ramana, or any other great spiritual master, or you can do it another way, where you feel that you're being instructed directly from the teacher. So instead of seeing it as, oh, it's a book that I need to read, or a book that's going to help me get enlightened, the best approach would be is, okay, this book is going to help me get enlightened, but I need to become a student first. It's very, very important that we understand that we are first seekers. You know, it's really important that we understand that. Many times, you know, I probably read the Bhagavad Gita a couple of times now, but I still feel that every time I read it, I'm understanding something new. I'm grasping something new. So I feel that that is possible for everyone. I think if you really want to understand something, read it, but read it really slowly. Read it with the intent, with absolute attention, that, or focus, that it will improve your life, that it will enhance your life, enhance your spirituality, enhance your connection to the divine. Right now, it may be that actually we have a subtle duality, that we feel that awareness or God is separate to what we are. And there may be that genuine duality, and that's normal. Like anyone that says that that isn't normal, it, it is normal. Every seeker has gone through that journey. The question that I always say to people, that I always ask, is, if you didn't have that duality, how would you know about non-duality? Duality is very necessary. Duality is needed in order to understand the non-dual self. For example, when we use the examples of the body, the mind, the universe, the earth, when the thoughts, anything, there is a duality there. So duality is not wrong. Duality isn't stopping us from living a complete life, or a full life, or a pure life. It's because we do not know who we are that we're allowing duality to superimpose itself that it is the only truth. And genuinely, at the time, it is the only truth. But with absolute focus and attention, we can get out of that. So, one way is to really read the scriptures as if you are an honest seeker, and that you're an honest learner. You really want to learn and deepen your meditation. You really want to deepen your connection to the divine. You really want to deepen your connection to yourself. The most important thing to understand is that everything is within yourself. All the answers are within you. And I know it sounds like a cliche that you probably see on like all the quotes on Instagram or Facebook, but it's really true. Like all the answers are within you, but there's a journey. And the greatest answer you can ever get is, in my opinion, silence. Silence is that one tool that can be used to help you connect to the divine. When you can connect to your own divinity, the divine isn't separate to you. The divine is you. This is the non-dual awareness that we've been talking about, and I've been really wanting us to get deeper into, because it's this message that will help the world. Right now, if we find that we're not connected to each other, there's so much anger, animosity in the world, it's because we do not know ourselves. And the moment you know yourself, guess what happens? You automatically become compassionate. You automatically become peaceful. You automatically become happy. And like I said earlier on my TikTok video that I posted today, even if you do get pineapple on your pizza, you're going to be okay. You're going to go beyond it. You're going to transcend the aversion towards it. So that's the way of an enlightened being. That's what they do. I'm not there, and that's why I need to. I feel that these conversations that we're going to have are going to help us. So, yes. So, Safa, yes, you say yes. I believe the only way we can truly feel connection is if we stop separating ourselves from the divine. Absolutely. In fact, if you look at all the mystics of the world, they have all talked about this. They've all talked about union. They've all talked about connecting to the divine as if, not that, what happens is, in the beginning, there's two separate beings. There's you, the seeker. Yep. You, the seeker. Then the divine or God or awareness, whatever word we want to use. When the seeker understands slowly with who they really are, through that process of self-inquiry, through meditation, through reading the scriptures, what tends to happen is they will interconnect. And they will interconnect. That's the whole journey, is about the interconnection. And what happens in that union is, that's what they say. There's only love, acceptance, gratitude, sympathy. All those things are contained in that union, because you don't live them from the state of duality, where you see everything as different, therefore it doesn't bother you. No, you see that actually if someone else is sad, that has an impact upon me, because everything is contained in me. And it's very, I think, I remember we've talked about how, I think it was you, Safa, who mentioned um, Mansur al-Hallaj, where he said Anhal Haq, when he talked about I am the truth. Saying that in the marketplace may be crazy, but that was his truth. That's the truth that he found, and he couldn't escape from that. Yeah, there was a complete union. And the same way, we have to understand that the mystic will always understand that everything is contained within them. They're not separate. to the world. The world is within them. Therefore, they have to help other people. I always believe this, that the true mark of a spiritual being is how they know they will impact society. If an enlightened being feels that society doesn't need to be worked upon, which inevitably none do because they all do, even if they don't do charitable things, but they will help someone to know themselves. That's the greatest service you can do to anyone, is to know that is for them to know themselves. So once that can be done, because you understand that everyone needs to understand this truth, you're helping people because you know that they're in separation. They feel that they're separated. They're not separated from the divine. Remember, they're not separated from Brahman or the non-dual self. They're always there, connected. They just don't know. In fact, they are it, but they just don't know. And yes, Safa, you mentioned that every mystic you've read into have had very similar concepts despite what religion they're from. Yes, absolutely. And this is when you know that, like, for example, I find it very fascinating. How can one person from India have the same experience as another person from Germany? Yeah, Meister Eckhart and Adi Shankara. How could they have gone to the same truth? And then you get people like Rumi, add them in, the mystics like Rumi and Hafiz, and so many in that region. So many in India, when you have Kabirji, you have Nanak Dev Ji, you have so many. How do they come to the same conclusion, to the same point at the end? How does that happen? How does that become everyone's reality? Because it is the only reality. It's the only reality that can be. So there's a saying by Muhammad that goes, "He who knows himself knows God." Yes, I've heard about this actually. Yes. Yeah, whoever knows themselves knows God. I mean, that's. See, when these experiences are talked about, one, they can get lost in words and translation. But I feel that the experience itself transcends everything else. Like you can connect with someone who's really experienced this truth. You can really connect with them. You can really understand that they've got it. They understand it. So they know themselves. They know themselves completely. So let me just remind you that if you do want to join this live stream, there is a StreamYard link. I have. Let me show it so you can join. And I think what should happen is I should get an invite. So if you do want to join and you want to ask a question, I'm more than happy to do that. That's the whole point of this live stream. I wanted to do was to get us to ask questions and see how it is on YouTube, and if there is any benefit in it. Otherwise, we'll continue on with TikTok lives. So let me see. I wanted to share something that I found that was really deep. Recently, I've been reading some of Rupert Spira's books, and Rupert he's a non-dual teacher, and he's done one book on the nature of consciousness. It's a very good book. Yeah, no worries, Safa, no worries. I appreciate. But if you have any questions, you can ask in the comments. That's absolutely fine. And if you're watching this on TikTok, get onto YouTube, and you can join in the conversation there. So let me see. So it's interesting. One of his last lines that he says in one of the lines that he says in this book is very interesting, and it's really it sums up what I've been saying really well. Our self doesn't have or possess awareness. It is awareness or consciousness itself. The suffix ness means the existence, state, presence, or being of. So the awareness and consciousness imply the presence of that which is aware or conscious. And actually, there's a whole text in Advaita Vedanta called Drig Drishya Vivek, and that goes into the seer and the seen. And again, here it's the same thing. What Rupert Spira is saying is that ourself doesn't have or possess awareness. It is awareness. It is consciousness. Now, it sounds very simple, but it can be difficult to truly understand and to truly become. So that's one thing we all endeavor to achieve, is to try and achieve and understand that we are awareness. We do not possess awareness, and we do not have awareness, because the moment you think you possess it is the moment you can lose it. So let me try and find a way to edit this line, and let me write something on here, and in that way I can see. So yep, let me do that. Okay, done. And what I do is I show this, start this. Okay, awesome. So I should have said use this link, but okay. But yes, so that was one thought that I felt was really, really good. And there's another thing he says, because if you ask anybody, what do they want from the world? What do they want to achieve in life? Everyone talks about the peace of mind. They want peace of mind. They want to be at peace. There's so much disturbance going on in life. They're always asking this one thing: how can I get peace? And something that Rupert Spira says, which is very, very good in terms of understanding what peace is. He says, the peace that is inherent in us, indeed, that is us, is not dependent on the content of experience. So no matter what experience you're going through, you can still be at peace. And so it doesn't matter what experience, the circumstances, no matter what's going on in your life, it doesn't matter. You can still be at peace. Situations or conditions we find ourselves in. And the reason for this, why is this? And the answer is very beautiful. He says that it is a peace that is prior to and at the same time present in the fluctuations of the mind. In fact, the one thing we've been looking at, I think it was in the last episode and this episode of the podcast, is looking at Brahman, the unfluctuating awareness between the Atma and Brahman. Or you could, if you want to use the Western concepts, soul and God or godliness. Those are the things that this is what he's talking about here, is the fluctuations of the mind. So the unfluctuation of the mind would be the awareness of peace, that happiness is always there. And then the no matter what you're going through in life, the fluctuations of the mind, sometimes you're sitting in meditation and you get a disturbing thought, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can still feel that peace within you. You can still be aware of that peace, because that peace does not depend on anything. If peace depends on something, then it cannot be called peace. Yeah, it'd be pieces then. So anyone that's joined, if you would like to join in the conversation, ask a few questions of me personally, you can click this link or use this link. It's in the video description as well. What you can do is click that, and then it will take you to have a conversation with me. And what will happen is I will change the screen when that happens. So what will occur is that there'll be two screens and you can chat. You can either be on audio or you can be on video. It's really up to you. And it's just a conversation really to deepen your non-dual awareness, the awareness that you are. It's not something that you have to discover. It's something that you would have always been and will always be, and you are right now. And the whole point of this conversation is to ensure that we can deepen it, not only for you, but also for me. I benefit from this. And then what we'll do at 12 is, or 12:30, depending on how much we get covered here, we'll do a guided meditation. So that will be pretty cool. But yeah, so if you would like to join, just click the link that is, streamyard.com, and there's a special link there. You can join the conversation. You don't need anything else, and I can then do the rest for you. It's like putting a guest request in, basically. So that'd be great. So we need to understand that we are peace itself. And why? So the whole point of spirituality is not to actually, before I go to that point, actually what I will say is this: we end with a mantra always in the podcast now: Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om meaning this Brahman is peace, peace, peace. So we know for a fact that peace is its inherent nature. And peace is what you internally are. This is what you are. So I really want us to understand this, that when you're going through the troubles of day-to-day life, when life is causing you a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, don't worry. Remember that you are at peace. You are peace itself. You are happiness itself. So that was some really nice thoughts that I felt from Rupert Spira that I've been reading. I just really like the fact that he said that it is what you are. It is us. It's not separate. So let me see. There was some other. Oh yes, the classic example of the screen that's used. We use the screen example in Advaita Vedanta quite regularly. And here he says that the knowing with which all experience is known is to experience as a self-aware screen would be to a movie. That is a magical screen that is watching the movie that is playing upon it. The movie is not separate from the screen, nor is it identical to it. What does that really mean? What does that actually entail? What that is saying is that the screen is aware of itself. Now, whatever image is played upon that screen, that self-awareness does not get impacted. For example, the screen that you look at is always black, it's always dark. But when you turn the TV on, when you turn the screen on, or you project images on it, it still remains the same color. It's still black. Its inherent nature is still dark, still blank. But when you put images on it, does the screen change by any way? If on the screen it is showing a murder happen, does the TV screen experience the murder? Does the screen itself get murdered? No. Does the screen get happy when it sees a magical moment? No. That screen does not remain affected, and that's the self-awareness that we have. When you understand you are that non-dual self, and it's not just an understanding, it's a living reality. When that happens, then you can understand for a fact here that you are now this awareness. That does not get affected. whatever the screen of life does upon you, the experiences you have, the conditions you're living in, whatever it may be, that will not get affected. You will not get affected. This non-dual self, this awareness that's within you, that is you, will never be affected. Never. So, so yes, if you would like to, like I mentioned, if you'd like to join, the link is there. If you'd like to put a question in the comment section, you can do. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. And that's another way we can utilize this platform. But if anyone can join in the conversation and you'd like to speak to me personally and be on this live, you can do so by using the link that's given in the video description below, or video description below, and also that's shown on this screen right now. So yes, so that's one thing I think we can all go back on and contemplate upon is, what is the non-dual self? What is that awareness that's always there within me? That awareness that is always peaceful. That awareness that is always connected to me, or is me. I think sometimes I also struggle with the language, and I'm still trying to get used to the language of speaking from awareness rather than speaking as the person. And when we can do that, that really helps us. So that would be one thing I wanted to add. But yeah, any questions, do put it in the chat box. I'm more than happy to answer them. I'm more than happy to go through them and see what you would like, whatever you would like for me to say. So yeah, that would be awesome. And let me just bring that down a little. So yes. Let me see, and then what we'll do in a couple of minutes, we'll do a meditation, and we'll end it with a meditation. I don't know how long the meditation will last. It's one thing I really wanted to do. So it will be, it will just be about us connecting with that non-dual self. And hopefully we're sitting in a nice area and we can contemplate upon that. So yes, so let's see. Have I always been Hindu? Really, I didn't associate myself with Hinduism until very recently. I would say that I've been more spiritual and without a label, so to speak, and possibly it is better to be without a label, because the question is, is awareness ever a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or an atheist? Is awareness any of those things? No. So this body and this mind may go through certain belief systems, but awareness doesn't. But I more or less see myself as spiritual, but I have recently really enjoyed looking at Hindu thoughts, and therefore I would say, yeah, I am a Hindu even by practice, because I'm practicing what the Bhagavad Gita talks about. I'm trying to practice at least what the Upanishads are talking about. I am trying to encompass those beliefs into my life. But that's the tough thing with anything you label yourself with. People may have a perception of you. So I like to get rid of those perceptions. But yeah, and no need to say sorry. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, the content that I do is pretty much. Oh, I got someone joining, Parx. So I'm going to add you to the stream. And thank you for joining.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you?
I am blessed and I am grateful and doing the best I can. Thanks. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing good. Doing good. So tell me a bit about yourself. Tell me. You look like a spiritual guy. I can tell from your eyes. So
I uh I enjoy seeking things that are of the spirit.
nice.
I enjoy the process of opening to the spirit that is without and opening to release the spirit that's within and feeling that connection, like becoming more aware of my own connection to the broader universe and feeling the broader universe within myself. And also learning and growing from the experience of closing that connection on occasion. Like, it's difficult to feel joy in that part of the process oftentimes. Like, that's where my mind experiences suffering,
Mm,
or my spiritual and emotional bodies uh suffer when I close that connection. And just like watching the process over the course of my life, this body's 45 years old. um it's so interesting, like that's where the gratitude comes from, is that opportunity to just to like look and experience and to be present in the moment of the experience.
mhm.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. So, what when you talk about the spiritual experience, what are you going through? What are you exactly experiencing?
Well, right here in this moment, with you, I feel the resonance of the truth that you're speaking that's obvious.
Mm,
um, like, it's very easy for me to understand your language because you're making it very plain. You're being a very good teacher right now, and I'm really grateful for our encounter, and for the opportunity to speak to you live is
thank you.
is so
Oh, thank
joyful.
you. Thank you.
um and that's something that's been infrequent for my life lately,
Mm,
and so that is what makes it even more special than usual. So this moment right here right now, I am feeling joy and
yeah.
gratitude for that joy.
Nice, nice. Gratitude and joy is one of the most unique experiences we have. And especially as I've been talking about deepening our awareness, that joy is inherently what you are. You don't you don't have to become it, you know. You are it. Joy joy is naturally what you are. And as I mentioned earlier, peace is exactly what you are. You know, many people are looking for peace, but they don't know they are peace itself, and that's the challenge. What challenges do you face in your spiritual journey?
Well, I think that most of my challenges come from forgetting those things, from
Hmm.
forgetting and losing awareness, or like leaving behind awareness so that I can come into the more basic and material realm and have material consciousness, and just kind of forgetting the higher consciousness that exists within me. Like, it's still
Hmm.
there, it's eternal, it's immortal. And I just kind of direct my attention and my consciousness towards other things.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because those can be amusing too. Like, even suffering can be an amusing experience because it adds to the richness of being human.
Yes, yes, yes. Suffering is very necessary. I remember, I think it was possibly in 2012, I read a book. I think it's Adi Ashanti, his book, Falling from Grace. I think in that one he talks about how meditation is not meant to give you joy. At first, it's going to give you a lot of pain and suffering. So don't think that if you meditate, are you going to feel ecstasy and bliss? You may do. I mean, some people are lucky, um, but the majority of us have to go through uh, at least this life's suffering and pain, or at least in my case, I believe in reincarnation, so many lives of suffering and trauma, and address those things. So, so yes, I do agree with you that our suffering can be our best teacher at that time,
Yeah.
and we should really travel with suffering, really travel with it, and see where it's pointing towards. And eventually, if we do travel with it, I think it was something like I think it's something J Krishnamurti talked about, was, do you ever travel with a thought? Because suffering is a thought, essentially. In its essential nature, it's just a thought. So he goes, do you ever, he was just talking about the general nature of thought, right? Like, have you ever traveled with it? And the funny thing is, I once did that. Like, well, a few times I've traveled with a thought, and then you realize the thought has no existence. So then when you travel with suffering, you realize actually suffering has no existence in awareness, because you're being aware at that point, you know, you're being aware. So that's, but yeah, suffering is one way we can actually deepen our awareness of the non-dual self that's within us, for sure, for sure.
I hear that. That resonates very strongly. It reminds me of my training in Dzogchen meditation, wherein the point
Right.
is literally to just focus on a thought, know that I am following something, letting it reach its own conclusion, and
Mm,
then releasing it from a place of love, because it's something that came from me. It's something that my mind created. My mind is always working hard to amuse me, to make me aware of the world around me, to calculate probabilities, to keep me safe.
yes.
And so even those challenging thoughts, even those thoughts that create suffering within me, are an attempt of my mind to serve me. And so I
Mm,
can simply acknowledge and release those things from a place of gratitude and
yes.
bless them as they leave.
Yes. Yes. That's very, very beautiful. And that's exactly what uh, needs to happen. Uh, you know, that's very, very beautiful. I'm glad that you acknowledged reaching the conclusion of a thought, and that your meditation practice has taken you there. That's really, really great. And so, do you still practice that meditation, or have you evolved? I would say, uh, into something else.
Oh, I've certainly been devolving over the last couple of
Okay.
years. Yeah, I trained with a few teachers pretty extensively um, for a few years, and then in the last couple of years, during this great human separation, combined with the connection that's taking place,
Hmm.
virtually, we're connecting in new ways. I have been focused on the material and more base consciousness,
Hmm.
to be honest. And so my practice as a result has been traded away for those material concentrations.
Hmm.
And I know that that's just part of the cycle also.
And yes, I would say actually that is the practice. Actually going through life, dealing with life, we call it Maya or samsara, but actually it's real while you're in the body. No one can escape it, no matter how enlightened one gets. At the end of the day, they're still doing their meditation sessions or their uh, talks. If you look at the neo Advaita teachers, where they say, oh, there's no self, there's nobody here, there's no teaching. But I'm like, but you're sitting there doing a teaching, you're saying a teaching. So there is, there is that this world is real on the transactional point of view, and what we just need to, and maybe this is where I think you probably have the solid foundation already, where you just need to understand that that awareness is still there, it's still present, and which I think you've hinted upon anyway when you've described it to me. That awareness is still there, present. It can't go anywhere. It can't go anywhere. You can't escape it. You can't escape yourself. You know, even in death, we cannot escape ourselves. This is which is a truth which you only come across when you understand awareness. So I really liked what you said, that yes, you may look like you're devolving, but actually maybe your practice is actually taking you to the step where the duality between spirituality and material life is not separate anymore. It's all one. And I think maybe that's so I would say continue on doing what you're doing, because there's a lesson there. There's a great teaching there, and not to let go of that teaching. I still have to get up at 7 in the morning to go to work on my laptop and be part of the corporate America. I still have to do that. You know, that's life. You know, I have a beautiful wife. I have to maintain my relationships. Yeah. So our family, my parents, both here in the States and in the UK, I have to be connected with them too, and love them too, and be with them, be with my friends. So we have to have that. We have to live in this world completely. I would say that any spiritual practice that takes you away from experiencing the real world is giving you half a teaching. It's giving you half a teaching.
Yeah, I think it can be a focus, because
Yes,
sometimes we need to concentrate our consciousness in an area to gain a fuller appreciation of that area and how it's connected to the whole.
yes, yes.
Like, I like to remind my students, I teach high school social studies in
Oh,
Dallas,
nice.
Texas.
Oh, nice.
So I'm very much in the material world and aware of like material conditions. um, I teach at a school with 90% poverty. So my students don't always have access to the teachings that we've had access to.
Mm-hmm.
And so keep it very simple when we meditate in class. I like to remind them that meditation is every breath to which we give attention. Meditation is everything to which we give true and full attention.
Hmm.
And that it's okay to forget that,
Yes.
because every time we forget is just a chance to remember.
Hmm.
And we can't
Yes.
take every opportunity, right? We have these limited material experiences while also having our infinite spiritual experiences. And it's okay that our consciousness is continuing to grow.
Yes. 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 Although I think maybe it's language which really restricts us, but even the idea of consciousness having to grow, it doesn't really grow, but our understanding of it, I think, grows. Yeah, it's. I think this is a beautiful thing about having conversations, is especially with spirituality, is you look to always refine the language, because it's very hard to explain this experience. And that's why I always tell people to read the scriptures, because they give you the language that you need. Otherwise, when you meditate and you experience something, you're kind of stuck with words. You don't know what to say. Um, so that's great. That's great.
The analogy I love to use with my kids is to remember Harry Potter, and that every new word you use is a spell you can cast.
Oh, nice. Every new word is a spell that you can cast. Yeah, that's nice. Yes, that's very beautiful. Very nice. Oh, so that's really, really interesting. Um, yeah, that's why that one of the texts we have in Advaita Vedanta is the Brahma Sutras. You probably have heard of them, and they're just, as you know, they're just, a couple of words. Each verse is just a couple of words, because the writer has just basically um, kind of refined the language so much that only 4 words or 5 words or 2 words even are necessary to explain the truth. And I find that's what happens with spirituality is eventually you refine your words to such a point where you say a minimum amount, but uh, it carries a lot of weight. So, and like spells, they create that magic that's required in spirituality, in spiritual progress.
Until you get to Om, right? The
Yes,
ultimate word, the first word, the last word, right?
yes, yes. Everything starts and ends with Om. Yeah, definitely, definitely. And it's the one uh, I've sometimes meditated upon listening to Om, and I've found that it takes you to an eternal place within.
Mm.
It really shows you what is eternal within you. It really takes you there and stabilizes you there, and keeps you there. So when we think of, I think any word, like even any word, but I think with Om, there's a certain connection with the body when you say it.
The resonance.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I totally like that. Om is the beginning and the end. Yeah, I like that. Yes.
I mean, it's even the beginning of Omega, right? The last letter in the Greek alphabet. Isn't it also related to Amen?
It might have its connection there. I mean, to be honest, I'm not too sure how the language would reach uh, those borders, but it's all possible, right? It's all possible. In fact, I think just a few moments in my life, I was saying that it's amazing how people may be living in different parts of the world centuries ago, before we had travel and air travel and ships and stuff, that their experiences of the divine, the end point was the same. Like, how did that happen? Like, how can they have the same experience? They don't speak the same language. They have different practices. They have a different culture, and yet the spiritual experience is exactly the same. How does that happen? You know, that means that that spiritual experience, the end point, is universal by nature. So non-dual awareness is uh, is its essential nature. I just want to point to a comment. I did show it earlier. I really liked what Safa had written, that spirituality doesn't have a title. No one religion can encompass the divine. I really like that. And that's very, very true. Um, can we ever can you ever bring awareness into a religion? No, because religion is contained within it. That's it. And that's where it starts and ends. It's contained within it. So I really like that comment by Safa. That's very nice.
Mm.
So yes. So if we can continue on with connecting to that divine in our day-to-day life, we surely will get there, and wherever we need to be. Essentially we are there, but we're all on the journey. We're all walking. I like what Ram Das says, that we are all walking each other home, and we're all on that journey, whether you're uh, a beginner on the spiritual journey, or you know you've been practicing for decades. It doesn't matter. I think we all are walking each other home. I really like that saying by Ram Das. But
I am so grateful I got to share the path with you today. I'm
thank
very
you.
much looking forward to your meditation that you're
Thank
going
you.
to offer at the end.
Thank you. I will be, yes. I will be doing that very shortly. But I wanted to, it's really great that you came up. Did you find me on YouTube, or
I saw
how did
you on TikTok first,
okay.
and
Okay.
it's just your profile, just kind of like giving
Okay.
your lesson, and it's beautiful from the side. From the forward from YouTube, it's a little more intense. Um, and then I went through the StreamYard, and then the directions for StreamYard says that a PC is necessary when it offers like the tutorial for it. So I was a little hesitant. I'm on my phone right now, but it's working well.
Yes, that's great. That's great. Yeah, a lot of people find me on TikTok. Yeah, I've been pretty active on there. I do TikTok lives maybe once or twice a week. Um, so I do that. But I wanted to try this StreamYard thing and see how it works. And it seems to be pretty good. It's been pretty clear so far.
Yeah, there was a moment maybe for like 2 minutes after we talked about Om, coincidentally enough, and its resonance, and the power might have tripped some kind of circuit because the audio became very distorted and I could barely make you out, but I still got the
Okay.
message.
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. So yes. So yeah, I mean, do you have any questions you want to ask? Or
I'm sure I have so many questions, and I may be in that space of processing so much that it's difficult to have an awareness of questions. Um, I'm looking forward to enjoying your podcasts and to gaining further context.
thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you joining. And we'll start the meditation in a couple of minutes now. So, but it's really great having you on. I really like the fact that you had so much to add on to this conversation. So, I really do appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. That was a very wonderful conversation. So, we'll begin with the meditation. And before we begin the meditation, I just want us to first understand what we've been experiencing today or talking about today, and that is that non dual awareness. That awareness which doesn't have a second, there's no two of that awareness, there's no, it doesn't have three or four. This awareness is one. We could say it's the oneness of our being, which is the essential nature of who we are. So our being is awareness, our being is consciousness. This being has no form, it has no shape, it has no image. So when we begin the meditation, we need to begin with that understanding, and then we will go deeper into that awareness. We will focus more on that. So if you want to get yourself comfortable, wherever you are sitting, wherever you may be. If you're standing, it's okay. If you're in the whole marketplace of life, that's fine. You can be in that place, and then we'll begin this meditation. So just get yourself comfortable. Take a couple of deep breaths if you feel so, and we'll start the meditation. I'll make sure I put a comment that the meditation has begun. So that way, anyone that joins knows that we have started the meditation. Okay, awesome. So if we get ourselves comfortable and start the meditation. Today, we've been discovering our essential nature, our very being, which in Vedanta we call Brahman. Brahman is the ultimate reality. Brahman is that pure consciousness. This Brahman is known as Advait, meaning without a second. There's not two. This Brahman, this ultimate reality, this pure consciousness is your soul also, which we may call the Atma. The Atma is Brahman itself. The small self is the higher self. The limited consciousness that is in this body, the localized form of consciousness, is pure consciousness itself. This pure consciousness does not have a beginning. And neither does it have an end. Due to it not having a beginning nor an end, it is self-existent. As it is self-existent, it is always here. It is always in the now. Right now. You can feel this immediately that you are the self. You are the non-dual awareness. You are Brahman. Right now, this pure awareness, this pure consciousness is watching this process within you as you're connecting with it, as you're removing the duality slowly and slowly. Each layer is being peeled away as you connect more and more in understanding that there is only awareness. In awareness, there is this expansive, all expanding nature of love. And as you remove these layers of duality, the love of awareness is attracting you even more and more to it. Its invitation is becoming all expansive. And funny enough, the invitation is just to know your own true self. It is who you are. So as these layers peel themselves away automatically, and you encounter pure consciousness directly, you see that this pure consciousness is everywhere. You see that everything is contained in pure consciousness. The world that we see, that we function in every day, is contained in awareness. It's contained in Brahman. There is no division, because from the point of pure consciousness, there is an underlying union with the world that we perceive. Our senses create the perception of the world. Awareness cannot be perceived, because then it will become an object. And awareness cannot be an object. Awareness can contain objects, but it can never be an object. Therefore, this pure consciousness, this non-dual self, is without a form, is tinier than an atom. You could say awareness is also, or pure consciousness or Brahman, is no thing, or no thingness. That's another way we can understand that pure consciousness is not an object. as you've unpeeled, as you've peeled those layers away, and have discovered that right now, right here, you are Brahman, you are the Supreme Self. You have no form, you have no name, you have no thing connected to it. Stay with that awareness for as long as you can. It may be for a second because the mind can intervene, but then bring awareness back. Bring your attention to awareness back again. Utilize the mind. Befriend the mind. Don't see it as an enemy. Befriend it. When it goes to another thought, bring it back to awareness. Bring it back to pure consciousness. Bring it back to who you are. You really are. So stick with it for a few moments. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. If you closed your eyes, if you've already have your eyes open, that's fine. But open your eyes slowly if you've had them closed. And as you open them, stick with the awareness. Stick with pure consciousness, the watcher, the witness. Stick with that. Don't let go of it. Right, we come to the end of this live stream. It was really great. We had a great conversation earlier with Parx. It was very nice. And I encourage you all, there'll be probably another one in February. But if you follow me on TikTok or Instagram, you can follow me there. I do live streams on TikTok twice a week, or sometimes more. So do look out for me there. You can follow me on social media, the Bearded Mystic Podcast or Bearded Mystic Podcast. And thank you for joining. Thank you for your comments. I hope that you've enjoyed this session, and please do continue to give me your feedback. It would be greatly appreciated. So we'll just end with the Shanti mantra that we talked about earlier. And thank you, Safa. Thank you for enjoying this live. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for everyone that's joined. Infinite gratitude towards you all. So we'll end with the Shanti mantra. I'll say it in Sanskrit and then I'll say it in English as well. And then we'll end this live. Okay, so Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste, everybody.